Hi and welcome. Thank you for attending today's technical assistance webinar. I'd like to introduce myself. My name is Mina Carrion and I am one of the training and technical assistance coordinators for Amity's third-party administrator. This webinar is presented by Amity Foundation, acting as the third-party administrator for LA County's Justice, Care, and Opportunities Department and the CFCI Care Grants. The CFCI, or Care First Community Investment Grants, are the result of ballot measure J, voted in by LA County residents in 2020. Care First Community Investment Funds are intended to be invested directly into communities and alternatives to incarceration that address negative outcomes caused by racially driven criminal legal system inequalities and long-term economic disinvestments. I want to take a moment to acknowledge every single person tuning in. You are JCOD CFCI grantees. That means you are already doing the hardest, most vital, and most transformative work on the ground in our communities, spearheading justice reinvestment, reentry support, and Care First models. But today, we are going to shift your paradigm from simply surviving on your current cycle to building a capital ecosystem that truly lasts. Here is a foundational fact that might surprise you. Total giving in the United States remains incredibly resilient, consistently crossing hundreds of billions of dollars annually. The money is out there, but the way people give has completely shifted. Traditional slow-moving galas and long-winded dry appeal letters are losing ground to radical transparency, speed, and deep trust. Before we go into our webinar, I do want to incorporate the teachings that center the community before we begin our work. Today, we will use the LA County Land Acknowledgement to recognize the price paid by individuals that has resulted in efforts such as the Care First Community Investment. We recognize that we occupy land originally and still inhabited and cared for by the Tonva, Tataviam, Serrano, Quiche, and Chumash peoples. We honor and pay respect to their elders and descendants. We acknowledge that settler colonization resulted in the genocide of the First Peoples. This acknowledgement demonstrates our responsibility and commitment to truth, healing, and reconciliation, and to elevating the stories, culture, and community of the original inhabitants of Los Angeles County. So, let's start off with a session roadmap, the 4 pillars of funding mastery. Look closely at the roadmap on your screen. This is our strategic architecture for the day. To build an organization that survives long-term economic shifts, we must move out of what we call the reactive era, where groups rely entirely on word of mouth or a single local government handout without a diversified revenue game plan. Instead, we are stepping firmly into the intelligent future. We are going to deconstruct how to attract individual donors based on regional connection, deploy high conversion mobile checkouts that work in under 3 clicks, locate high probability grant funding opportunities, and use advanced prompt engineering workflows to dramatically scale your writing capacity. So let's tackle our very first pillar. But before we get into that, we're actually going to touch upon the evolution of funding. So, the funding landscape has fundamentally shifted, and yesterday's tactics will not save tomorrow. Look at the historical progression that we have gone through. Many organizations are trapped or can be trapped back in phase 1 or phase 2, operating entirely reactively. Oftentimes we think, how do we get out of this? We want to move away from being just lucky to being strategic. So ask yourself, how many of you feel like you're constantly chasing the next check? We want to stop the chase and start the build. We want to look forward towards phase 3 and 4, turning that data and automated personalization into predictable revenue. To build that machine, we first need to look at exactly what makes up our ideal donor. So, the donor ecosystem. Donors are not hiding. They are simply waiting to be invited into a compelling story. Look at the 4 vectors on your screen that form the ideal donor ecosystem. Local corporate partners, high net worth individuals, professional foundations, and your grassroots community crowd. Here is your first real homework assignment. I want you to think of one local business in your immediate neighborhood that you haven't approached yet. They see the same community challenges you see every single day. They are part of your ecosystem. Once you identify them, how do you walk them from being a stranger to an advocate? You have to use the engagement loop. So when we talk about the engagement loop, we're not talking about a straight line. It's a constant cycle. Did you know that the most common mistake nonprofits make is that they move straight from step 1, strategic identification, to step 3, the bold invitation, completely skipping step 2, which is personal cultivation. Don't be the organization that only calls a supporter when they need a check. Be the organization that calls them just to share an incredible client success story. Cultivate them, over communicate through radical stewardship, and watch them become advocates who bring others into your loop. Now, let's talk about the digital power-ups we can use to make this giving process completely seamless. So, next gen fundraising and frequent platforms. So, we want to shift to modern fundraising infrastructures. The modern digital donor has a digital attention span of roughly 8 seconds. If it takes more than 3 clicks or a confusing multi-page form to give a gift to your program, they will abandon the tab entirely. We need to complete what we call the engagement loop by making giving completely frictionless. We must move past standard static donate here buttons that lead to chunky web forms built in 2010. Look at the software matrix on this slide. These are the precise platforms winning in the nonprofit space right now. First, we have Zephy. This is a massive game changer for grassroots organizations. It is the only 100% free fundraising platform that leaves exactly $0 in transaction fees for you. They don't take a cut. Every single penny goes directly into your program budget. Next is Give Butter. Incredible for modern, highly visual grassroots campaigns. It is free for nonprofits through a transparent tip-based model. It allows Venmo, Apple Pay, and Google Pay, and integrates engaging visual elements like live goal thermometers. If you have an established website and want to build a highly predictable monthly recurring baseline of small dollar givers, look at DonorBox. This platform embeds high conversion forms directly onto your existing site for a tiny 1.5% fee. And then you have other platforms like Donor Choose or Global Giving that are excellent choices if your program has highly specific, tangible capital needs, such as purchasing 10 new laptops for our reentry technology training lab. Remember this technical reality. Simply adding mobile wallet options like Apple Pay or Venmo also will increase your checkout donation conversion rates by over 50%. If your organization's site doesn't have it, you are actively leaving community money on the table. We now have the donor discovery and the 7-20-10 rule. So everyone in the care first space constantly asks, where do I find individual donors who actually care about justice, reinvestment, and community care? Here's a piece of data you likely didn't know. The single biggest predictor of a new donor writing a check to your project is not their net worth. It is their proximity to the problem. So stop wasting your valuable time looking for a detached, distant billionaire or millionaire. Look for micro philanthropists right in your immediate backyard. Donors aren't hiding from you. They're simply waiting to be invited again into a compelling story. To capitalize on this, we use two actionable strategies that are shown here. First, we have the adjacent map strategy, which is look at local businesses, independent neighborhood cafes, community health clinics, within a strict 5-mile radius of your office or program delivery site. These business owners and stakeholders see, again, the exact same community challenges that we mentioned in a different slide. So they are heavily invested in making their immediate surroundings safer and more vibrant. Second, memorize and apply the 70-20-10 rule. A structurally sustainable nonprofit can receive 70% of its grassroots funding from individuals, 20% from local corporate sponsorships, and 10% from community events. If your current revenue chart is upside down, or if you are entirely reliant on one government grant line, your organization is at a high financial risk. So let's do a quick chat storm in your head and think of the name of one local business near your office that you've never spoken to, but pass by every single day. Do you have one in mind? Look at those names filling up your head, you know. This is your prospective donor outreach list for, tomorrow morning or next week. So, grant readiness checklist. So, let's be completely honest. You cannot win a high stakes grant if your internal house is not in order. Organization is key when trying to find grants. So, think of this slide as your vital pre-flight checklist. If a major foundation grant is due at 5 p.m. on a Friday, you should not be hunting around for your IRS tax ID letter at 4 p.m. Stay ready in order to be ready so that you don't have to get ready. Build your master digital folder with your legal documents, outline your localized problem metrics, map out your SMART goals, and structure a transparent budget that accounts for your real operational overhead. Once that is all in order, you can hunt for opportunities a lot quicker and look for grants that may have a shorter deadline, calendar span because you have everything in order. So the Grant Hunters Toolkit and the AI engine. So to unlock the world of grants, where do you go to find high probability opportunities? So one thing is I want you to stop relying on generic search engines and focus on the 4 specialized channels shown on the slide. First, the Candid Foundation directory is an absolute gold standard for researching private and family foundations. You can filter with surgical precision by geographical focus and historic check sizes. And a little tip, many public library branches across LA County can give you completely free access to their premium tier. Second is grants.com, the centralized hub for federal funding. Now, while it is complex, it really is essential for organizations ready to scale their community impact. Always filter specifically for forecasted grants to give your team a 3-month head start on writing before the RFP officially drops. And third is instrumental, an incredible, intuitive, paid tool that automatically matches your specific project keywords to active RFPs. And it tracks your deadlines to keep your staff on schedule. And before you write a single word, ensure that your grant readiness checklist is locked down. Again, you want to be ready so that you don't have to get ready. I would recommend that you build a digital folder containing all of your items so that you're not scrambling. And then of course, something else that you can always use is AI, a co-pilot. We'll touch upon it again, but you can leverage AI to try to move through the grants a little bit quicker without losing your authentic community voice or grassroots soul. While AI is, a tireless digital intern, it should not be your replacement. If prompted correctly, it could cut your narrative drafting time down by a staggering 70%. The thing is, you never want to ask an AI engine to write a grant from scratch. It will output robotic, generic language that grant reviewers spot and that they can reject immediately. Instead, use AI as your personal master editor, summarizer, formatter. Try using the exact copy and paste prompt structure detailed on the slide. And this automates the heavy structural lifting, freeing up your leadership team to do what an AI can never do. Go out into the field, collect real human success stories for your story vault, and build trust, deep relationships with a grant officer. So, the anatomy of winning a proposal. So, one secret that we always want everyone to know is that grant reviewers are exhausted. They have hundreds of text-heavy applications to read through under tight deadlines. Your job is not to impress them with flowy language. Your job is to make their job easy. Structure your proposal semetically so they can find the answers to their rubric criteria immediately. Use clear and clean headers, bullet points, bold text for your key facts. Build a solid pyramid starting with a magnetic hook, backed by real community evidence, a clear method, undeniable logic, and a sustainable future plan so that you can speed up the entire structural writing process. So again, about AI and the revolution of AI. So you can use, ChatGPT and Claude to write better, to write faster. But again, we never recommend that you replace your grant writers or yourself writing a grant with AI. So, practical execution. Always remember, fundraising is not a rare one-time event. It is a daily operational habit. If your organization only looks for money when you are completely out of it, you're already too late. By institutionalizing 4 operational habits, that 10% rule, the active board ambassador scripts, a continuous story vault, and multi-channel appeals, you build a resilient organization. You build an enterprise that can easily survive a single grant ending without dropping its footprint on the ground. So, the 24-hour action launchpad. So, we've covered a lot of things today, and I want you to issue yourself a direct 24-hour challenge. So look at the choices displayed on the screen. And I don't want this webinar to just sit as dead information in your head. Within the next 24 hours, I want you to commit to completing at least one small high momentum wins. Now, whether that's, you making a platform move and setting up a free Zephy or give butter link, or if you want to, make that AI move and test your program data in Claude or ChatGPT, I want you to do something because the funding is out there and you deserve to obtain a piece of it. You all are vital change makers of LA County. And if 24 hours is too quick of a turnaround, I also have a 30-day launch pad. So take a close look at this action staircase. It looks simple because it is designed to be executionable, but I don't want you to try to overwhelm yourself or your team by doing everything tomorrow morning. And you can easily just take everything week by week. I want you to, audit and organize, identify those stakeholders in your neighborhood and invite them to your organization's events. Try out that AI pilot. And then as you slowly start making all of these things, um, these small operational wins, let it lead you to your first submission. That will then directly lead you to a big foundational check. So, as we wrap up, I want to leave you with the core truth that drives this entire ecosystem. Funding follows impact, and impact requires deep discipline preparation. The secret to sustainable capital isn't hidden inside some expensive software or a magic template. It lives in your relationship building and the preparation of your story. I want every single leader in this space to leave here feeling deeply empowered to go out there and look for those grants and that funding because you, like I mentioned before, you deserve it. You're already doing the real vital work on the ground where it matters most. The capital is out there. Your job is simply to build the operational bridge to it. You already have the tools, you have the heart. Now go get the funding. So thank you so much for your time, your energy, and your deep commitment to the communities. If you have any questions, please email us at tpata@amity, ooh, there's a typo there, at amityfdn.org. tpata@amityfdn.org. All right. Have a fabulous day. And yeah, I hope you guys see us next time for our next webinar. Bye.